Greetings and welcome to this edition of
Positronic Hypersonic.
Positronic Hypersonic.
Positronic Hypersonic.
I'm Barry P. Cook, and I'm here to talk to you about the Season 2 finale of Gen V. It was called Trojan, and as the episode starts, it's 1967 again, and we see Godolkin trapped in his burning lab, where we left him in the previous flashback, watching his fellow scientists burn up around him. Realizing he's trapped and that his only other option is to just die, he injects himself with some of the experimental blue goo that we saw his fellow scientists shooting up in the previous flashback, but still ends up burning up in the fire. In the present, Marie and company are regrouping and having Doug, previously known as Cypher, explain what's going on. He tells them that the blue goo that Godolkin injected himself with was V1, the same V that Soldier Boy and Stormfront took, which made him stop aging, just as it made them stop aging, and probably saved him from becoming a 100% crispy. At this point, Polarity asks Marie to fix Doug's injuries, but she can't. She's tapped out after having healed Godolkin. Annabeth asks why Godolkin didn't just puppet Marie and use her new upgraded powers to heal his own body, and Doug says that Marie is too powerful for that. He tells her that Godolkin tried to jump into her head many times while she was at Elvira, but he couldn't. Polarity then takes Doug in his car to go see a doctor he knows, whom he hopes can help Doug heal from the wounds he suffered during the fight at the end of the previous episode. He does this instead of taking him to a hospital because he realizes that that would be too risky. In the next scene, Sage, who apparently really has feelings for Godolkin, asks him to move in with her, and he agrees to. She says they have to find a way to let Homelander know that Godolkin is actually alive and introduce the two of them to each other in a way that doesn't make Homelander feel like he's being ambushed, because that would make him see Godolkin's reappearance as a threat, which we know would cause him to flip out. Godolkin says that before they can go to Vought headquarters or start settling into their new living arrangement, he has one more thing to do, one more class to teach. He says it's even more important than the plan they've been hatching, but she thinks it's straying from their mission and is doubtful it's actually necessary. In the car on the way to the doctor, Polarity and Doug talk. Doug's telling Polarity about how badass Andre was and about how he stood up to Cypher, even as a prisoner. Doug calls Andre the greatest hero he's ever seen, and Polarity loves hearing this about his son. But their conversation is interrupted when Black Noir descends from above the car, slicing through it with a sword and killing Doug instantly, after which he takes Polarity as a prisoner. Meanwhile, the girls regroup in Marie's room, and Marie gives her sister some clothes and tells her she can change. Emma suggests Marie leave campus, but they don't even know where they would go. At this point, Marie is realizing that she faltered when she bought into the whole Chosen One deal that Cypher pushed on her, and says that she realizes that in truth she's not special and that she'll never be more than the girl who cuts herself when she feels sad. But Emma tries to help her see things differently, to look around at the weird little messed up family they've built, and to take pride in it because they all came together essentially because of Marie and her unflinching determination to do the right thing. Even Kate agrees. Marie is reminded that they all have issues, both external and internal, but that together they can survive them. As Kate is about to leave, Marie stops her and apologizes to her. Kate seems not to need an apology. She sees them as all good, but Marie wants to show her that she really means it and that she really trusts Kate now, so she heals Kate's powers. Sage, meanwhile, doesn't have to wait long to figure out what Godolkin's plan was, because everyone on campus gets a video from him introducing himself as Godolkin, saying he's resetting the rankings and opening his seminar to literally everyone. Sage knows this wasn't the way to let Homelander know that he's back, and is stressed about it. Upon seeing the video, Marie and company know it's a trap, both for the other students and for Marie. But Marie has learned a lesson that way too many supposed heroes have failed to learn, that she can't do it alone. So they all decide their next step is for Marie to make a video. She warns the student body that the seminar is a trap, but some people think she's lying. Emma and Sam go to Sam's frat to warn his brothers firsthand, but Rufus the rapist blows them off, which pisses Emma off. Rufus then, for lack of a better word, roofies the two of them, and they wake up to find that they've had phalluses drawn on their faces, and that half the fraternity brothers are already on the way to the seminar. At the seminar, Godolkin is berating the students who showed up and calling them failures. Sage is watching from a balcony overlooking the room while ignoring Homelander's phone calls. Godolkin calls the students embarrassments and says they have to prove that they belong at God U or die trying. He says their goal is simple: stop him from crossing the room and pushing the button on the other side by any means necessary. One student with fire powers starts, but then Godolkin starts puppeting students, making them all fight each other until he makes it across the room. The more he uses his powers, though, and pushes them to their limits, the more his skin starts to boil and bubble. But it doesn't seem to bother him. Marie and Jordan realize that Godolkin's plan is to cull the herd one group at a time, unless Marie comes to save them. And Marie knows she has to say what she wants to say now or never, just in case, so she tells Jordan that she would understand if Jordan never forgave her for leaving them behind twice, but Jordan interrupts her to say that they actually do forgive her. But they also say that they and Marie can't be together. Marie begs them not to make the decision now, to wait until this all blows over so they can talk, but before she can get a decision or before Jordan can say anything else, they're interrupted by the rest of their friends joining them. Marie asks Annabeth if she's had any more visions, and when she says she hasn't, Marie tells her that she should go and be safe. But Annabeth says she's not running from her visions anymore, and she wants to stay and help. In the seminar building, Sage asks Godolkin why he's doing what he's doing, and he says he's trying to level up his own powers under pressure the way he did Marie's. He wants to be powerful enough to control Marie, because once he can control Marie, he can probably control Homelander, since they're both Odessa babies. Godolkin thinks that even though Homelander is the most powerful soup, he's still weak because he has a fragile ego, and that this is holding Vought back. He says the Seven is full of useless sycophants like the Deep, simply because Homelander can't handle anyone being even close to as powerful as him without losing his mind, and that they've had to embrace mediocrity in order to appeal to his whims because of this. Sage says that Phase 2 of their original plan involves Homelander, but it's clear Godolkin has changed the plan without consulting her. He says his plan is better. At that point, he starts to puppet all of the students in the room at the same time, making them dance like puppets on a string, while Sage looks on in horror. At Vought, Polarity finds himself in a cell, wishing that Black Noir 2 was silent like the original Black Noir because he's boring him with goofy rants, until Sage comes and saves him from his rambling. She notices that Marie fixed Polarity, but thinks that was a mistake. She says he was more powerful when he had nothing to lose. Seemingly resigned to defeat, she leaves his cell saying everything ends the same. But she leaves the door open for him, and he's able to slip out. Back at God U, when the next class comes in for Godolkin's seminar, Kate uses her freshly reinstated powers to let Marie in, too. Godolkin says he's not ready for her yet, but she has an offer for him. If he lets everyone go, she won't kill him. He responds by possessing all the students at once and making her fight them. But it turns out that Marie brought backup. Black Hole, the kid with the void in his posterior, lets fly, and all of Marie's friends pour out of said same posterior. Together, they all overpower Godolkin with an almost surprising swiftness. Emma gets big all on her own and kicks him across the room. Allie uses her powers, which, let's not forget, reside in her nether region hairs, to tie him up, and Harper touches him to have his powers for 60 seconds, which is enough time for her to release all the student puppets. Everyone gets out safe until it's just Godolkin and Marie's soup squad left in the room. Marie stands over him proudly and declares that they beat him, noting that everyone includes people with powers that he would have deemed useless. Marie lifts Godolkin up by his blood just like he taught her to do, but unfortunately, being in this life or death last gasp situation is exactly the pressure he needed to level up his own powers, and he can now control Marie. He uses Marie's powers to lift all the blood in the room up into a blood tornado. He then uses Marie to keep all her friends stuck in place, and even says, "You don't even go here," to Annabeth, while calling her the worst precog ever. He calls them all traitors to their kind and says there will be no place for them in the world to come. He then uses Marie's powers to start boiling everyone's blood or something, until suddenly Polarity bursts through the doors and uses his powers to break Godolkin's connection to everyone, returning them to their own control. Godolkin seems to think that he can now control Polarity, but he can't. And while he's distracted and trying to do so, Marie explodes his head. She then tells Polarity that was for Andre, and then adds a final FU by saying over Godolkin's corpse, "Thanks for the level up, asshole." At this point, Polarity points out that Vought will likely be on the way because of his escape and because of Godolkin's video. So they all have to get the heck out of Dodge, but Marie doesn't think running will help. Polarity says that staying isn't an option and they have to go somewhere for now, and they have to go together. So they decide to take his advice, and as they're leaving, Emma says she wants Polarity to come with them, but he can't. Emma hugs him and tells him that Andre would be proud of him before she joins Marie and company, who leave to try to find Stan's bunker. Getting lost on the way there, they stop for a break. Marie offers to drop Annabeth off at Pam's, saying that she can go back to her safe life now that Godolkin isn't after her. She just wants her sister to be safe and happy, but Annabeth says she can't be any happier than she can be by being by Marie's side. So she says that she's going to stay. The group looks around the road as the streetlights start to flicker, and lo and behold, Starlight arrives. She asks them all to join the resistance, and they all smile in agreement. A-Train even zips in to welcome them. And that's where the episode and the season ended. So I thought this was a really good episode. I think, it could be argued that the ending, the denouement, came a little bit too quickly with virtually no cooldown, and that's not optimal, but I think it worked, it was good. I really liked it, and I liked that she exploded his head. That was awesome. It was really great also to see Polarity back in, good form and in command of his situation and really being a cool hero, because for so long he was kind of feeble and it sucked. I was bummed out about Marie and Jordan. I thought they were a good couple and I wanted to see that, succeed, but I guess it wasn't meant to be. I thought it was great that in this episode, we finally got to see Sam not have any weird moments. He just was another member of the group and everything was normal and he was very helpful and it was great. I enjoyed that. I had said in my earlier reviews this season that I didn't like his character and I didn't care about him. And I didn't because he was kind of like a loose end that was just a wrench in the works. But now that they've sort of fixed him, he is really a great asset to the group. And I think it's cool that he's there. In a way, I felt bad for Sage because she really seemed to like Thomas Godolkin. And, it sounded like the plan that she had might actually have been a good plan for how to deal with Homelander. And now it's not going to come to fruition. She has to start over. And I thought that was unfortunate as well.
I really like the fact that they showed that Marie realized that she had bought into the bullshit that Cypher was selling her about how she was going to be the strongest being on the planet and that it caused her to make bad choices and that she was done with that.
I like the idea that at the end, the Gen V kids are sort of welcomed into the larger fold. And I'm wondering what that's going to mean in the final season of The Boys. Are they going to cross over and be in that season? That would be really, really cool, I think. So here's hoping that that happens. Of course, I'd also like a season 3 of Gen V, and I don't see why we couldn't have both. And I say that because I really like this show. And I've said this before. I like it better than the last couple of seasons of The Boys. I like the first couple seasons of The Boys a lot. The next couple seasons, not as much. And part of the reason for that is that this show in both seasons has been a show about a friend group consisting of young people who are all trying to do the right thing while trying to figure out life, not only just in general, but as people with powers. And, even Kate, who in the first season was doing the wrong thing, thought that she was doing the right thing. And I just like to see that. I like to see a show about people that are all trying to do the right thing. Obviously, the villains aren't, but The Boys is a show where the heroes of the show are often after their own ends and not always trying to do the right thing. They're better than the villains, but they're not always trying to do the right thing. They're often trying to take care of themselves. I mean, they're not entirely selfish. They do care about the people they're working with and they try to do right by them, but not to a fault, not to the point where they're singularly focused on trying to help people. And I get that that's, to depict that aspect of reality that, everybody's flawed, which, Emma even says in this episode. So I get that, but it wears on you after a point. It's like, why can't these people rally and just be better people? Like, it's the final season now of that show, and I'm wondering if they're going to do that. And I hope they do. But they've been doing it the whole time on Gen V, and I just thought it was great. And I thought that it was, no clearer at any other time in the series than it was in this episode when Emma makes that comment. That whole scene demonstrates how these are people that have always just tried to do the right thing and who actually care about each other. Even Kate was allowed to redeem herself. And, I love a redemption story. So I thought that was great. They're a group of people who are all rowing in the same direction, generally speaking. And that's not true of the characters on The Boys. And that can make for a disjointed show that, is a lot of sound and fury signifying nothing, a little more often than it should be. They don't have that problem on this show. I mean, they did have interpersonal conflicts between them, but at no time did I feel like any of them was strictly out for themselves. They were always trying to do the right thing, and they just had disagreements among them at some points about what that was. But it wasn't about a bunch of people who were like out for themselves and not really concerned about the larger community around them. It was the opposite of that. And so I really liked the show, for that particularly. And I think it stayed true to that the whole way. So it's just a really good show. This was a really good season. I think it had some peaks and valleys, but I don't think at any point that the episodes sank below a 3 out of 5. So it's just been a really good season. This is a really good show. It was a pretty decent finale, and I'm hyped for the final season of The Boys, and I would be thrilled if we get a season 3 of Gen V. And I'm going to leave it there. So I'm going to get out of here for now, but I'll be back with another video soon. Until I return, I wish you peace and long life.